All right. Welcome to episode number 2. We're here. It's the Chamber of Evolution podcast. Today I got my boy Carlos in the building. Carlos, how you doing, man?
Hey, what's going on, brother, man? It's great to be here. Thanks for the invite, man.
Definitely, man. For you guys that don't know Carlos, he owns his own real estate business in North New Jersey. He's been doing business there. How long now, bro?
Going on about 2 years now. And it's been great so far. So it's
Awesome. Awesome, brother. And yeah, so any real estate needs that you have in the state of New Jersey, definitely reach out to my brother Carlos. We'll plug his info at the end. Carlos, man, I'm glad to have you here today. Man, let's talk about something, man. Let's get into some juicy topics, my guy. How's things been going for you up there in Jersey lately?
well, man. Well, first and foremost, man. If you guys aren't familiar with Jersey, Jersey, man, it's definitely an interesting place, man. It's right next to New York, right? So we do get a lot of people in regards to real estate, business, the business that I'm in, moving back and forth. Working from New York, a lot of people commuting from Jersey going into New York. So you definitely see a lot of interesting characters, and you definitely get a lot of, I guess the word would be a lot of diversity in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man, I was born and raised here.
Awesome.
Uh, yeah, so can't complain, man.
Awesome, man. Yeah, man. I noticed you mentioned it being close to New York and having a little bit of diversity. I mean, what would you say would be the best part about, living in that Jersey area so far since you've been there? I mean, you've been there your whole life, yeah?
Yeah, that's a great question. And yeah, like I mentioned before, I originally grew up actually in South Jersey. So a lot of people don't know this that aren't from Jersey, but South Jersey and North Jersey are two completely different. You might as well call them two completely different states because it's so different, man. Like it's really really amazing how like South Jersey. To sum it up, I would say South Jersey is more so of like a lot of farmland, like a lot of land, right? You just see open land with nothing on there, right? Might be farms, things like that. The
Mm-hmm.
only thing they had in South Jersey, because I originally grew up in Atlantic City,
Okay.
so there's a lot of casinos down there, right? So it's a gambling town. So I grew up in a gambling town on the Jersey Shore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who,
Now,
who hasn't heard of Jersey Shore, man? We all know about
yeah,
Jersey.
right. Yeah, man, Jersey Shore, the infamous Jersey Shore. But in North Jersey, man, it's such different because I would say the biggest difference between these two, and the reason why I actually moved up to North Jersey was more opportunity. There's a lot more job opportunities here in North Jersey versus South Jersey. Now, granted, there are opportunities down in South Jersey, right? But in the industry that I wanted to go in, which is real estate, there was a lot better opportunities here in North Jersey for me because
Mm-hmm.
really, especially getting into business, right? Because down there's a lot of people that have those neighborhoods on lock, right? So it's more of an older crowd, retirement crowd. So
South.
I wanted to actually branch out, right, and really start on my own, start flat on the ground and just get running. So I made the move up to North Jersey, and here I am right now.
Cool. So we definitely, we're aware you running a successful real estate business up there in North Jersey now. Congratulations.
Thank
Um,
you.
since you migrated, from the South, has there been anything that maybe from your experiences in the South that you took to North Jersey that kind of helped you just develop and grow since you've been there?
Yeah, so I guess the question you're asking is, like, have I gained anything that helped me towards starting my business here in North Jersey? I guess.
Correct. Any experiences that you had in South Jersey that you feel like has helped you since you've been in North Jersey with in
Man,
regards to business, life, everything, anything you learned down in South?
I would say, man, like I would say down south is a little bit more. People are a little bit more open to talking with you. Up
Hmm.
here in North Jersey, it's kind of like New York City. It's kind of like New York a little bit. Everyone's in a rush.
Uh-huh.
It's the Northeast, so everyone, I'm walking here, everyone got places
Yeah,
they gotta
right.
go. So,
Yeah.
but man, I would say overall, man, the one thing I wouldn't even say growing up in South Jersey taught me what I know now. We both came from, we both have good mentors, right? Good coaches.
Hmm.
So it was just really overall, man. Like I wanted to just start new because I did know some people down where I grew up at, which is a very small town, so everyone knows each other, right?
Right, right.
But for me, I just really felt like I needed to branch out more and really gain more opportunities and talk to more people because I know for a fact that regardless of whatever I'm at, I'm gonna make it. That's the mindset I have, and I still have that till this day. So really, I just wanted to open myself up to new opportunities and just accept the challenges where they come from. I'm starting a new business and just work towards it.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So it sounds like, like you said, you kind of started fresh moving up to North Jersey, and that's kind of what you wanted to do. That was a part of the plan. So, I mean, tell us about some struggles that you had since you've been up there. What are some hurdles that you had to overcome, starting completely fresh, having to meet new people, build new connections? You're not in that small town environment, so you really don't know many people there. What are some hurdles that you've had to overcome?
Definitely. I would say one big thing in regard to the business side would be um, obviously you're just starting. You don't know anyone in your area. Like normally people have friends or family members or parents or friends where they can try to get business from in the real
Mhm.
estate. However, in this area, really claiming your own neighborhood, I like to call it, right? Stamping your flag in the ground, saying, "Hey, this is what I do. I'm here to help anybody and everything." So
Mhm.
that was one biggest thing that was a hurdle for me was really gaining business and letting people know, hey, this is what I do. When they don't even completely know you at all. You didn't grow up in the town, you don't know the neighborhood, you don't know what's in the area, right? There's a lot of things people say. However, if you're able to demonstrate yourself in a manner where you're saying, hey, you sound confident. Hey, listen, I just moved to this area. However, I'm doing my best to know what's going on in the area. I go out every day, every
Mhm.
weekend, just going around town. You will gain business. So to answer your question again, to follow up with it, um, that was the biggest hurdle for me, especially, especially I would say, let's say for example, right, in real estate, you do get properties, right? Our job as agents is to help sellers and buyers sell property for the highest price. And in regards to buyers, we're supposed to help them get the best price possible on the property, right? So not knowing the area was a big hurdle for me as well. I did not know the area at all, man.
Yeah.
I didn't. Maybe I walk 5 blocks down. I'm in the gray area, right? And I walk an additional 5 blocks down. I'm like, oh, snap, man. I better not be here at night. You know what I'm saying? So
Hide your
it's
kids,
definitely
hide your wife, right?
exactly, man. So it's definitely a big hurdle, man. It takes time to really know the area, and the only way you'll really know the area is by getting the boots on the ground, right? Getting your feet on the ground and actually talking to whether that's restaurant owners, business owners, whatever the case may be, talking to your neighbors and really getting the gist of what's going on in the area.
Hmm. So instead of just sitting around waiting for the opportunities to come to you, actually go out and seek those opportunities and make things happen. That's what you're saying, right?
Absolutely, brother. Yep. Because at the end of the day, it's not just going to fall in your lap, right? And especially in this business of sales. Sales is sales. So
Mhm.
you ain't doing what you're supposed to do. You're not going to eat for that month. So it's all or nothing basically. So it's either you just going to stare at a fucking wall. Am I just going to stare at a wall and hope the business come to me, or am I going to go out there and actually talk to people and say, hey, this is what I do, right? And see if they
Right.
have any need. That's literally it, man.
Yeah. And I can definitely relate. I've kind of had to do the same thing. I moved to a different city, much larger city, much more diverse city. And I've had a lot of those same hurdles to overcome. And then what you just said, going out speaking to people, like you said earlier, that takes a lot of confidence. And you're one of the most confident guys I know, man. Very outspoken, extremely confident. If you ever want to get into debate with somebody, don't pick Carlos because he's not going to stop until he wins the debate. And that's dope, man. So one thing that I've heard, I believe it was Ed Milet I was listening to, he said, usually people who are extremely confident, more than likely at one point in time, they weren't very confident and they had to work on that. So, I mean, surely you wasn't always this confident, bro. What are some things that you had to do to build up that courage and confidence to actually go out and speak to these people and create opportunities for yourself?
I'm glad we steered towards this topic, man, because I was definitely, oh man, like I was definitely, I would call myself back then a quote unquote introvert. I
Yeah.
don't like that word, right? But a
Yeah.
lot of people use that. They use either you're an introvert, you're an extrovert. At the end of the day, man, the only reason why that's a label, right? You don't want to label yourself because you're already hindering your process. If you're bad at speaking to people, the only thing to do to get better at that is to speak to people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You know, so that's as simple as that. If you're not an introvert, you're just bad at speaking with people because you don't like speaking to people and you don't practice speaking to people.
Hmm.
So the only thing you can do is continue to speaking with people, take the fall where it comes from, get back up, and keep pushing. You're gonna get better. So I'll tell you a little bit about my story, man. Growing up, I was definitely, like I mentioned, I called myself back then the introvert. I
Hmm.
never really liked speaking to people because I didn't like talking to people. I didn't like anything to do with people, talking to people, man. So even and when growing up, I didn't take jobs where I wanted to speak to people. And if I did, I would try as much as possible to avoid confrontation and speaking to people because I just didn't want to do it. Throughout high school, same thing, man. I didn't talk to a lot of people. I stick to myself, maybe a few people that I knew personally. That was about it. I never really was an outspoken person. If the teacher called my hand in class, I really didn't want them to call me because I didn't want to speak in front of everyone.
Yeah.
So, but it's funny because you're like, well, hey, Carlos, okay, you grew up not liking to talk to people, and but you're in sales,
Right. Yeah.
right? That's complete opposite of
Yeah.
what I was growing up. And I realized one day, man, I realized the most the most wealthy people in this world are great. Majority of them are great communicators.
Hmm.
Okay, so going off of that, right? Just going off of that, okay, a lot of wealthy people are what? Great communicators. Okay,
Hmm.
okay. So if I want to be wealthy, if I want to have certain things, and I can't speak to people, how am I going to be able to attain that money? How am I going to be able to get where I need to go if I can't even speak to a person? So based off of that judgment I made, I said, you know what? Let me start building my communication, right? And it falls back to your mindset as well, because if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't have the right frame in mind,
Hmm.
you won't even be able, like, for example, like talking to a girl.
Right.
A lot of people have problems. Like I know a lot of people personally growing up that same thing with me would be afraid to talk to a girl or be afraid to, I don't know, like let's say you go to an event and you know the answer, right? And he's like, who knows the answer? No one raised their hand, but you know the answer. But you at the same time, you don't want to raise your hand because you don't want to get called on and all that pressure comes onto you. Because all eyes are on you, right?
Right.
So one day, like I said, man, I just broke out of it. I started reading books. I hired a coach when I got into real estate and really started to dig deep on um, becoming a better communicator and what frame you have to put on your head, right? And it's funny because right now I have this book in front of me. This book is called Pitch Anything, right? Book right here called Pitch Anything. And it's by Oreen Clef. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his last name right. But it's a very good book, man, because it teaches about communication, right? Because if you're not a good communicator, how do you expect to own your own business? You got to be able to establish and communicate with another human being, right?
Hmm.
So that's one thing I would say was a big factor in changing how my communication was, and just overall, just opening more, just talking to more people, going out. Doesn't have to be much. Every day for the average person, they can just go out one day, talk to one person walking by, strike up a conversation, go to a coffee shop, start speaking to people. Because guess what? You'll never know who you might meet that day.
Right.
You
Never
never
know.
know. You
Yeah.
never know. There's opportunities left and right. And a lot of people miss them because they don't open their mouth. They don't speak. They're either on their phone looking down all day and not paying attention to what's going on in their environment. So if I could say one thing that helped me get to where I'm at today so far, it would be communicate, being a better communicator overall, hands down. If
Hmm.
you're a good communication, it's all about relationships in this world, man. It's about who you know. And the only reason you get to the only way you get to knowing a certain person is communicating with them.
Hmm.
So yeah, I would have to say that, man.
Yeah, and that's a good point, brother. I believe, I'm not sure if I read this somewhere or if someone told it to me, but there was this kind of this analogy someone used in regards to communication. You have to open your mouth or communicate somehow to get what you want, right? And the most effective communicator, more than likely, is the person who's going to get what they want. For example, if you have two people in a desert who are about to die of thirst and they run across a guy with one bottle of water, who do you think is going to get the water? The person who opens his mouth and asks for the water, or the person who just sits there and look thirsty? Both of them are about to die. Both of them are thirsty. More than likely, the person who opens up his mouth and asks for the water is the person who's going to get the water, and the other person is going to die. So, communication is definitely very important. There's this cliche out there, communication is key. I hear people say it all the time in relationships, but it's true. Communication is important, man. So was real estate, getting into the real estate business, was that your first experience with improving your communication, or did you have, I don't know, a sort of sales job, or, did you work at Foot Locker or something like that beforehand? I mean, what was your first experience with, improving your communication?
Good question. My first experience improving my communication. Actually, man, I never had a sales job before in my life. I never had nothing to do with sales, customer service. I mean, I guess you could say, I worked multiple jobs, right? I had a job at Home Depot at one point when I was in college. I was working 3 jobs at one time to be able to pay for my tuition for the year. I worked at Home Depot, UPS. Most of the jobs I had, man, I really didn't have anything to do with communication. It was only so when I got into real estate, which is so funny because a lot of people are probably asking, well, you didn't like communicating with people. Why would you get into real estate? What made you get into real estate?
Mm-hmm.
So what really got me into real estate wasn't so building my communication at that time. It was mainly just to make money, right? And actually become a real estate investor. That's really what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I was broke. I had no money. Now, granted, I had $2,000 saved up from working previous jobs, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, man, I just realized like I'm not gonna go nowhere in life working these little jobs, man, working hourly. And even if I wanted to make more money, I'll go to my manager and say, hey, I need more money. Can I work more hours? And they say, well, no, you're capped at 40 hours. You can't work more than that. We can't pay you more than that. Sorry.
Yeah.
So, I was like, you know what? Let me get into real estate. I always see YouTube videos, these ads pop up. Oh, real estate this, make $100,000. Look at my check, right?
Right.
You see those Ty Lopez videos back then,
Yeah.
where like, here in my garage with my Lamborghini.
Yeah.
But man, it's just very funny because I'm like, you know what? I need money. What's the number one thing I can do right now? Well, I can get in sales. Okay. So now I decide, okay, I want to get into sales because sales, obviously, you can make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
However, at the same time, you can also not make money at all and flunk out. And I'm pretty sure the rate right now for in regards to real estate agents and sales is like what 90% or 98%
Yeah.
drop out within the first 2 years, I believe.
It's pretty high. It's pretty high.
Yeah, it's definitely very high. So that was one thing to think about as well. And I just figured I love real estate. I love houses. I love viewing beautiful houses.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Me growing up in I wouldn't say I would say it was a lower income area, right? And whenever I got to go to the areas where there were mansions, where these wealthy, rich people lived at, I always was like, man, look, they're freaking to get to their house from the front yard. It's like 5 minutes.
Right
Like,
here.
wow, look,
Yeah.
man. It's like I always wonder what do these people do, and it's funny because I actually got the chance to ask for it one time, and I'll bring up this funny story. So this was during Halloween, right? So I was still doing trick or treating during that time, and I walked up to this one person's house, huge house, man. This dude had literally like, I think he had like a 3-car garage. Like we walked like good like 4 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes to his front door from the street. So it was a big house. And of course, we knocked on the door. We said trick or treat, and the guy was giving us candy. And I looked, man, and this dude, I looked over to my left, and that's where his driveway was.
Mm-hmm.
This dude had like a Ferrari. It wasn't a new one at that time, it was new. Now it's older, but he had a Ferrari, he had a Range Rover, he had like all these different types of cars, man. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wow. And I asked him, I said, hey, I said, what do you do for what do you do for work? Like, how you had all these freaking amazing cars.
Yeah.
And he started laughing. He starts, a little laugh, and he looks at me, he said, and he tells me, he said, real estate.
Oh yeah.
And
Nice.
that always stuck with me, man.
Yeah.
Because I didn't at that time, like I tell you, I didn't like talking to people, but that was just sort of our outburst. I was like, man, what do you do? Look at these cars.
Yeah.
He just tells me real estate.
So that
And I
probably
always
planted the
remember him
seed,
telling me
huh?
that. Absolutely, man. That's
Yeah.
what really got me digging into real estate. Okay, what's real estate? What
Right.
is real estate? How do you make money in real estate? You know, how can you make money to buy all these cars with real estate?
Right. Yeah, it's amazing where real estate can get people. I don't know the exact percentage, but I know a lot of the millionaires out there are millionaires through real estate. So it's definitely a lot of opportunities in this business, whether you're a sales agent, whether you're an investor, wholesaler, whatever you do in the industry, as long as you're involved in this industry, you have a shit ton of opportunities just because beneath all is what? The land, there's real estate everywhere. Someone owns it. Why can't you own it? So, man, that's crazy. So it sounds like you started real estate, and then after you got started, you realized, okay, if I want to get money in this industry, I must get better at my communication. Is that right?
Absolutely, man. Like I mentioned before, I never had any previous sales jobs, nothing like that at all. I mean, nothing about sales.
Yeah.
So going into it, I was completely out of the blue. I was unprepared. Like I said, what they teach you in real estate school,
Yeah.
I'll say this: what they teach you in real estate school, you will not need it. You will not use it at all unless you're in legal issues. Then you might need to use it. Might need to know some of it. However, majority of the stuff you learn, you will not use it at all in the real estate. It's all about who you know. That's it.
Yeah, who you know. I mean, that's everything, right? Life, everything. If you get a speeding ticket, I'm sure it will help you if you know who the judge is, right? If you don't know who the judge is, they'll probably just treat you like everyone else. I was lucky enough to grow up in a small town and really see the benefits of, knowing people, right? I would get a ticket here or something like that. And when I would go in to face the consequences, they would say, oh, is your last name Lowry? Who's your dad? And they would know who my family is. And for that reason, I would get away with certain things. So I saw right there the benefit, like, okay, if I want to get somewhere in this life, I got to know people. I got to get out there. That kind of planted the seed for me, to actually understand how important it is to get out and meet people and build relationships with people. Because I don't know, bro, which do you think is more important? The money that you have in your pockets right now, or the relationships that you have with people? Because I'm starting to realize, if you have relationships with people who have a ton of money, in a way, that makes you a more valuable person, right?
You hit the nail on the head. Absolutely, brother, man. Like to go off what you were gonna say, you can make the money again, no problem, man. But those relationships, if there are genuinely good relationships and you built them from the ground up, those are invaluable, man. I'm telling you. It's the saying that we have, right? We're in the group, we're in the group, right? We're all brothers in.
Mhm.
And there's a saying we all say all the time, man. Your money stretches much farther if you're in a network rather than you being alone. For example, right? I'm sure everyone can everyone can relate to what I'm about to say. This analogy. Let's say you're in a club. Okay, you have two groups, right? One group maybe has one or two people, right? Maybe one or three people in there, right? And the other group has 6 to 10 people, right?
Yeah.
And then both of those two groups decided, you know what? Let's get a table. Let's buy some drinks. All right. Now let's look at the one group that has one or two people. Do you think they're gonna get farther with buying a table, getting drinks? Do you think it's gonna the money isn't gonna stretch as far as that other group that has 6 to 10 people that's getting tables, getting drinks left and right? Their money's gonna stretch much more farther because they're able to use all their resources together
Right.
to be able to go farther than what they originally
Exactly.
could go by themselves.
Hmm.
And that's the same thing with knowing being in the network, man. Same thing with what you're saying. Who you know matters because you can go much farther in life building
Right.
those relationships. It all comes down to building those relationships, man. I'm telling you, the wealthiest people in this world, they have those connections, they have those relationships. They can call up one person and get something done easily.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about connections. That's literally what business is about. Relationships, building strong, genuine relationships, and having those connections to leverage them. Of course, everyone's bringing something to the table. It's not just you taking.
Mm-hmm.
You all using your resources together to go much farther than you originally could with just one person. So you hit the nail on the head there, man, for sure.
Totally, man. Totally. Definitely, relationships are very essential in business, like you said, and also life. But tell me, man, what makes you a type of person? Because this is something that I struggled with early on as well, and I'm starting to figure it out now. But what makes you the type of person that these people with all of these resources would even want to build a relationship with? How do you get these relationships? Where do you find them? Do you just look in a newspaper and look for friends wanted, a friends wanted advertisement? How do you become friends? How do you build relationships with these people who have all of these resources?
That's a great question, brother. And before you even go out trying to establish relationships, I would consider taking the time and looking at yourself in the mirror, right? What can you provide to someone? What is of value to you that no one else can bring to the table? And how you can apply that to a certain individual you want to build a relationship from. So knowing what your value is, knowing what you can bring to the table, once you realize what you can bring to the table and what your value is, then you're able to go out there into the world and start establishing, connecting with other people and knowing what they have that you can use, that you can bring to the table. Because it's not just a take.
Mm-hmm.
That take energy, people can feel that.
Yeah,
However, in the universe, it always rewards you with what you're bringing to the table. You'll receive back tenfold.
right. Law of reciprocity.
Exactly, brother. So if let's say, for example, right, we both have something, we both have different values we bring to the table, right?
Right.
We're able to. It's the thing Napoleon Hill said.
Mm-hmm.
Napoleon Hill, the meeting of the minds, right?
Mm-hmm.
The meeting of the minds. It's a group,
Yeah.
a network.
Yeah.
Everyone's bringing something to the table. It's not just someone taking something.
Mm-hmm.
Once everyone is establishing their own value, and we're all sharing our ideas and our values together, we're all leveraging amongst each other, we're able to go to the next level. So it's a genuine relationship because everyone's bringing something to the table.
Right.
So first thing, to go back, first thing, looking yourself in the mirror and knowing what value you bring to the table. That's the first very thing you need to do. Second thing, going out to networking events, meeting people, right? I'm sure you do it as well. We always talk about going to networking events, meeting new people.
Yeah. I met you at a networking event.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, look at us now, right? So, I mean, the first thing to do, man, is look at yourself in the mirror, know your value. Second thing, searching up events that you particularly find interesting, such as real estate. It could be anything, right? It could be a car meetup. It could be anything, man. And then going to those events, seeking out those people and establishing your value to them. And then, like you mentioned, the law reciprocate, the law where they're exchanging information. You all are exchanging information together.
Mm-hmm.
The meeting of the minds. And then once you receive that, you'll be able to establish more connections. So let's say, for example, right, you establish a connection with somebody last night. You meet somebody the next day, and that person last night, let's say, for example, he works on manufacturing, right? He works on manufacturing, getting things done for cheaper, right?
Right.
And you meet somebody the next day, says, "Hey, man," you meet him, you talk to him, you say, "Hey, man, right now, my business, right now, I need a manufacturer. Right now, my business is really hurting. I'm trying to look for a manufacturer."
Yeah.
Guess what? You just provided another value because you met another person that's a manufacturer that night before.
Right.
You have his info. You're able to bring more value to the table because in your network, you have people that do certain things. You're able to say, "Hey, you know what? Guess what? I know a guy, man. You have a problem in manufacturing, right? Getting your costs down lower. Guess what? I know somebody. He's a great person. I personally can vet for him. I'll get you guys connected together. Now, guess what? You help them both in their businesses. The law is coming back to you. It's going to come back. That's how this universe works. And guess what? Since you were able to establish a connection with that person, those two, he's always going to remember the other one that you just met that had that problem is always going to remember you because you established that relationship between those two to help him in his business. Now, guess what? It's gonna come back tenfold.
Yeah. Whether it's today or tomorrow, right? Or 10 years from now.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, look, bro, I appreciate you being on, man. I know we're running short on time. We could talk all day. I know it, man, but I know you got some things to do. So before we get out of here, man, anything you want to plug while you're here, man, on my platform?
Yeah, man. Guys can follow me on IG, Instagram at real.estate.carlos. Real.estate.carlos. All right, you can follow me on Instagram. I post a lot of stuff on there. Mostly all my business stuff. Everything is on one platform.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to get in touch with me, you can follow me there. Um, I'm licensed with EXP Realty. So for anyone that has any real estate needs in the state of New Jersey, definitely feel free to get in contact with me. DM me through Instagram if you have any need, and I'll assure you that we'll get the job done.
Awesome, man. Carlos, he'll take care of you. Again, it was good having you on, brother. I appreciate it, man. Enjoy the weekend. Hey, we got to run it in chess next week, brother.
Yeah, facts, man. Let me know whenever you're ready.
Man. All right. Peace, man.
All right.